Good evening, I'm DK ROSTANT. Welcome back to the TTT News. Now, Carnival has been described as a festival, a living ritual, and the one constant in life is change, though. And to discuss the significance of some of the changes in the Carnival season, we have Adjunct lecturer, the Carnival Studies Unit, DCFA, UWI St. Augustine, artist, musician, producer, current DIY enthusiast, and I see a barn door that he created and it's in his background that I can see in my life. But Omari Ashby, he joins us to share some insight into the lay of the land this carnival and what it can mean for future versions. Hello, sir, how you doing?
Hi, DK, how are you?
I'm all right, thank you. Now, we want to start off with your perception of the current landscape for carnival and the creative sector.
Well, of course, it's a little challenging based on the pandemic and so forth. And so that is a reality. But one of the things that I've been hearing that I think most people start off at the wrong assumption and at the wrong point, let me say. So immediately because of COVID, we started to say, is there going to be a carnival? Can we have a carnival? And I don't think that is where we should begin. We should start at how can we do carnival? What is carnival in COVID going to look like? And so I think if you start at that point, rather than are we going to have carnival? Can there be a carnival? I don't think that is the point we need to start at, because from our perspective, there has to be a carnival. There will be a carnival. The only thing in question at that point is what will this carnival look like?
And I find it interesting that you say that possibly we're getting the starting point wrong, because I think this period also, well, because that raises two things for me. One, what are we? How do we walk? How do we breathe? Some people say you cannot take carnival out of us, even though different individuals may express it differently. But I think that also the disruption has kind of pointed out what are some of the things that we need to look at a little differently. And we'll get into that talk a little later, but it also begs the question, what is carnival? Is it more than 2 days? Is it more than bikini, beads, broomstick? Some people say boomsy too. What is carnival? If you have to describe it, to say that, okay, how can we do it? How do we define the thing that is carnival before we move forward?
Listen, carnival is many a thing, but were I to distill it, I think rap artist Carriga Mandela has a song that says, Carnival is a celebration of our emancipation. If I were to distill it, and essentially for me, that is what it is. Now, of course, there are many facets once you start to dig into the thing of what carnival is and how many branches it has grown and how many aspects of it that you may have. But in its essence, carnival is a celebration of emancipation. Yeah?
Now, and the fact that you talk about a celebration of emancipation means that there is an energy or a rebellious energy going with it. So many times, and I'm sure you would have experienced, especially if you have a child or you have someone who that spirit of rebellion and questioning is strong. As soon as you say do, that is the thing to do.
Yeah.
So,
yes, of course. But it goes beyond that, you know. You know, one of the things that we have to understand, you see, because a lot of people are saying, listen, COVID is dangerous. Gathering, any kind of gathering is exposure, and all of those things are correct. We have to follow the science, right? We must pay attention to what this pandemic is doing to us. But at the same time, no one is considering what we can do. Did we cancel Christmas? That was never even a thought, eh? We should cancel Christmas. Did we cancel Christmas? No, we figured out a way to do it. And of course, in the mix, some people would have done it wrong, but some people would have gotten it right. But nobody, nowhere inside of that would you say, let us cancel Christmas. So we have this idea that let's cancel Carnival because no matter what you get Trinis an inch, they will take a yard, they will do this and that. people took a yard in Christmas. Did the idea of canceling Christmas come up? Not at all. So therefore, for the Trinbagonian, and a lot of people will not want to hear this, but it is factually true. Carnival is what our society is built on, you know, and as an academic, I don't know how much time we have, but as an academic, we could go through the history and look at what that means in a very real way. That is not an esoteric statement or something in my head that I'm making up. Carnival is what our society is built on.
And so we have about 3 minutes before we go to break on this one. But I want you to take that for me and break it down into some examples. So because of this, and we're built on Carnival, you see this, or you see this manifesting. So take me through some of those things. And I'm grateful that you're able to bring the academic side to the artist, and I'll even say the activist side as well. So we have 3 minutes to run through this kind and lay some groundwork.
How Trinidad and Tobago, Trinidad in particular, it was populated, right? We all learned about the cellular population. That would have been 1783, I believe. And that brought a lot of, the idea was, listen, these people from the French islands, the French colonies, if you come now and you pledge loyalty and you are Roman Catholic and you pledge loyalty to the Spanish crown, we're going to give every white person that comes 32 acres, and for every enslaved person they bring, they're going to get 16 acres. For the free colored, as they will call the time, and at the time and other people, they would get 16 acres, and for every enslaved person they bring, 8 acres. What is the importance of that? The importance of that is that took the population of Trinidad from roughly about 1,000 people to almost 18,000 people overnight. And it meant that the French influences would have come, but it also brought with it the African influences. And this was the bedrock upon which the Trinidadian society was built. That idea of the Mardi Gras mixing with the idea of the Camboulet, which is up to today what we know as Carnival. So when I say it was the foundation, it was the very thing that caused there to be a Trinidad. It was the very thing that populated the island, and what came with it were these things, the traditions of the Africans, as well as the French influence that was there. And you see that dynamic up to today. You know, you see the tension between the Camboulet, you see the tension between the Camboulet part of Carnival and the Mardi Gras part of Carnival. It manifests itself in the wider society, right, where we call it uptown and downtown, right? Sometimes we say it is real mass against bikini and beads, which, mind you, I do have a problem with as much people, right? Because that is part of the Carnival as well. But it is the foundation upon which we were built.
And with that, we take a short pause. We're coming back. We're speaking about embracing the change in Carnival, what that can mean forecasting as well, with Omari Ashby. Stay with us. We'll come back with some more. Welcome back. We are speaking about embracing the change in Carnival with Omari Ashby, Adjunct lecturer at the UWI St. Augustine campus. And it seems sometimes, Omari, as though we're trying to run from our shadow, which is an exercise in futility. But at the same time, in terms of embracing some of those changes and pivoting, but still staying true to the energy, to the sensibility, we see we've had some things jump onto the virtual platform. One of those was Cricks and Cheese, which you played a role that was very visual. So tell me about that experience, please. What was it, and what did it address?
Credit for that really goes to the Fence Line production team, Jovan, Abraham, and they took a position of doing this, what they call the 21st century tent experience, where they had a couple of artists, several artists actually performing, featuring Stacey Sobers. But the critical thing about it was that there was a full band live, and there was audience interaction, as well as not just audience interaction in terms of watching, but them pledging money. Inside of that show, you had desperados performing. So I think shows like that are a template of how we could safely engage some aspects of the Carnival. You see, we have such a visceral kind of self-contempt at times that we hear Carnival and everybody start to bristle. Why they can't give up Carnival for 1 year? We so like whining that we must go out there every year. It will come back. Let us be safe. And they're not taking into consideration so many aspects of the thing that can be done safely, one, but also what it means to the livelihood, the psyche, the cultural identity of a nation. And so you cannot say there's going to be no Carnival. That is utter madness. What you have to look at is how can we do Carnival? And nobody seems to want to look at that. Everybody is this knee-jerk reaction of we can't have Carnival because that is jamming on one another and it will happen. Somebody must play the fool. And I mean, we need to pause, take a second and look at the possibilities. I mean, in that concert, you had Desperados playing. How was that possible? It was possible with some thought and a bit of planning and some excellent execution.
No, you're talking to me and I have different emotions and thoughts racing. So one, I'm feeling the energy in terms of like my paws raised. Two, it feels like an indictment on people who just say we cannot. But at the same time, moving forward, it also kind of unpacks a level of possibility. And I like conversations. I appreciate this conversation because it feels as though we're approaching a middle ground between just feeling and that visceral reaction you're speaking about and also taking it onto a theoretical level to see how we can impact things going forward. But in terms of saying it is an experience and it's interactive, one of the things that I would have asked quickly is how would people, so if we wanted an encore, is it that people are messaging you real time and that's happening? So that personal engagement that happens, how is that possible?
In that show, Desperados played a song and somebody messaged us and they said, listen, we have our credit card in our hands and we're going to pledge again if we could get another song from Desperados. And so we played another one from Desperados. You understand what I'm saying? So remember, we have the technology, we have that instant connection, and we have to use it. We have to use it. We can't just, listen, we are and have always claimed to be the Mecca of this thing. And in the Mecca, we're going to say we can't have it. How did we achieve all the other celebrations we had throughout 2020? How did we achieve it? You know, and yes, it cannot be business as usual. We all have to acknowledge that. It cannot be business as usual. But at the same time, it cannot be no business at all. That is not realistic.
And we hear the Prime Minister talking about trying to balance the health of individuals physically as well as of the economy. And that leads me to the question, because in his treatise of the industry of Carnival, we had Bunji Garlin talking about the heart of the people, and he went on to list all these people who we don't necessarily see, and sometimes we see, but we don't see because we don't pay attention. But who benefits from these kind of virtual experiences? Or is it monetizing? Is it archiving? Is it self-determination?
Well, it is just like the real Carnival. It is not one thing alone. You're monetizing. And you see, we tend to discount anything that is not economic. We tend to discount it. What about the psyche of your nation? What about that? What about a people who have been inside now for however long? What about people who have lost their jobs? What about the psyche of a people? And so a lot of times after you do these shows, you get an idea from people when they message you after, listen, I needed that. You know, I needed that. Health is not just physical. Health is not just physical. One of the biggest killers they tell you of people is stress. You know, so we can't turn our backs on Carnival like that, because one of the biggest things that Carnival is as well is a stress reliever. And we have to understand, listen, the economics of the thing are important. It's critical. We are going to lose millions, if not billions of dollars this year because we're not going to have a physical Carnival. And that is fact. And a lot of people think that it's the artist going to feel it. It is not just the artist alone. The artists are most visible, but you have the idea of what you think some of these conglomerates that deal in alcohol, even some that deal in water, what do you think their profit margin is going to look like without a carnival? And who do you think is going to feel that? Not the worker on the factory floor. Yeah. So if I used to sell 20,000 beers, and now I'm selling 5,000, what is going to be the result of that? And mind you, I am not arguing for us on behalf of having feds in a pandemic, but I'm saying recognize what it is economically, recognize the importance of it, and recognize the importance of doing some semblance of it. So because you can't just think about now, you have to also think about the future of the thing. Think about the idea of how many people would like to come to Carnival and they can't come. And are you going to just turn their backs on them so that then their gaze is going to turn somewhere else for somebody who's catering for them virtually or online, whereas Trinidad could be that and the thing is, I am not looking for the government to do everything, you know, right? And I'm saying the government, I mean any administration. I'm not looking for them to do everything, you know. But one of the things that our government must do is facilitate. And think about this for a second. Imagine if we had a portal, right, an official portal, come to Trinidad, discover Trinidad, some kind of portal that the world knows, listen, all things Carnival 2021 can be found here. And then when you go there, you are accessing things that private promoters are doing, private entities are doing. But it's facilitated so that people don't have to then look all over the place. What's happening for Carnival in Trinidad through this pandemic? Where people look, they know, well, listen, discovertrinidad.com, wherever, TTT, whatever thing, whatever it is, you can go there and you can see what this promoter is doing, that private entity is doing, this person is doing virtual. You can. What about that kind of thinking where you are facilitating people who are willing to do something and do it safely?
And with that, we have about 2 minutes more. I want us to get this in. Well, I want to have you get this in, please. Living with a carnival mentality. Many times people say, "Oh, how you getting on like is a carnival mentality?"
Best thing ever you can have is a carnival mentality.
Explain that for me, please. With this final 2 minutes.
What we see in Carnival, what the average person sees in Carnival is the end product. You see people whining in the road, you see people in their costumes, you see people for the 2 days having that time. And so you think that is the be-all and end-all of Carnival. How do you think that comes to be? What kind of planning do you think goes into that? How much work do you think goes into that? How many people behind the scenes ensuring that people could be on the streets doing that? And this is again, look at Carnival. Inside the Carnival, we have everything that could be right about the society. Look how efficient security is around Carnival. Look at that. Look at how it shows us that when we want to be, we can be efficient with security, we can be efficient with organizing. And yes, the Carnival is not perfect, don't get me wrong. There are many things that need to fix. But when you look at sometimes how many hundreds of thousands people pass through Port of Spain for Carnival Monday and Tuesday, and most times, more times than not, by Ash Wednesday morning, the streets are relatively clean. As a matter of fact, cleaner than they are on a normal Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday morning. It means then that things that can be put in place to keep Port of Spain clean. So if we look at some of the things that exist in the Carnival, we can literally pull things out of there, mechanism, ideas that could help us through the rest of the year, bring the society to the way in which we want it. You could imagine what Port of Spain would be like were we to prepare Port of Spain for the Carnival trucks that passing through, because immediately we would have to then start to consider burying our electric lines. Immediately Port of Spain would become a more beautiful city, because we no longer have unsightly lines up in the air, we no longer, and so Carnival has inside of it so many things that we need to make the society right. But we have this way that we think about Carnival as some kind of frivolity and not look at the ritual, the economics, and the importance of this festival.
And that is the point we leave it on, Omari, but definitely food to go forward to think about. Thank you very much, Omari Ashby, for giving us a little something to help hopefully flick that switch in our brains. And we want to thank you on behalf of the entire news team for joining us this evening. I'm DK Rosta. Have a good night.